Jake motherfucking Burns. What's going on, baby? Welcome home for a little bit.
What up, dude?
There's been many times where I've thought about taking you captive when you come to Cincinnati, and now they finally made it in my basement. You ain't leaving, baby.
Hey, all you gotta do is ask.
How many years you been gone now?
Dude, I'm going on 8 years in Asheville.
That's awesome.
8 years this spring, yeah. So
Was there ever a moment after you made that move where you thought that Asheville wasn't the right town and you considered somewhere else?
yeah, for sure.
Where else did you
Like,
think about?
I didn't think about anywhere else. Originally, I thought Asheville was gonna be like a stepping stone to somewhere else. But then I moved down there with a girlfriend at the time. We broke up within the same year, and so here I am, jobless, like having to live out another 6 months with a partner that I'm not really with anymore.
Dude, you lived for 6 months together after that.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
And you know, it's just like I didn't know anybody in Asheville. I hadn't really broke into the music scene yet, and so I was still tiptoeing around town, like not knowing what the deal was. But
Any tips for couples that are living together after breakup?
don't do it, dude. Don't do it.
That's
dude.
the biggest one, but it's like, boy, there's something about learning to be on amicable terms in that set of scenario that's so different than anything else, where it's like
Yeah.
separate bedrooms, live your own life, I'll pay rent, we'll get out of here as soon as we can.
Yeah, that was pretty much the drill.
Yeah.
But it then led to me moving into this. I rented a house. I rented a room in a house with like randos, which one of those randos was this guy, Reggie, who you were at my wedding, and he was the one who married us. He was the
no
officiant.
shit.
So Reggie was a musician, and I was a musician, and we were both kind of both breaking into the scene at the same time, and so we connected over that. And
Where did Reggie come from?
Reggie is from, I think, Eastern North Carolina somewhere. I can't remember.
Very nice.
Exactly, but it was like a match made in heaven. Like, we just happened to be dealing with a lot of our own shit at the same time, and we just had a lot of like late night jams, and
Yeah.
it was fun.
You're one of the few people that I've ever seen have a band that has made like a band leader making this kind of monumental move, but kept the band intact. How many years has Rockstead been going now?
Oh, that's a weird question. I mean, like, truthfully, the very first version of Rockstead happened when, I was like a sophomore in college, probably, which was 2012, 2013. But you know, we were doing college house parties, and you know, I went to a lot of stuff in Athens, Ohio University. I graduated from there, and then our drummer at the time went to Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio. It's like a small private school, but we played tons of house parties and like little college festivals out there. But
Was there much original material on those shows, or was it kind of like a cover project?
we had one album that we had written and recorded through that time, and actually I just listened to it recently, like this past year, and it's like, man, it sucks so bad, dude. It's so bad. But like our drummer's dad, Casey, who supported us a lot through that time, shout out Casey Albertson, but you know, he saw that we were like super into it, and he was like, I'll get you guys some studio time. And I still very vividly remember, like, you know, playing putt-putt when we were in the studio, when we were like supposed to be like following the metronome, or like, you know, we just didn't get it yet. We were 19 years old, and yeah. But
Was that your first band?
no, so I had a band all through high school, which was called Broken on Impact. Broken on Impact.
Great name.
We started in 8th grade. But actually that band, so it was me and Victor, who you've met, Victor, and then our drummer John, whose dad is Casey, who I was just talking about. But then, you know, we played together as a 3-piece all through high school, and then towards the end of high school, my buddy Tanner Briscoe, our buddy Dylan's cousin, he started playing with us. And then that's when we really started getting into a lot of the like reggae rock, like at least like as far as playing it and writing it and stuff. And so then when Rockstead formed, it was like the three of us from Broken on Impact plus Tanner. And so that was the first version of Rockstead. And that's when we like kind of started pursuing that. But
Yeah. Well, it's wild, you know. It compares a lot to interpersonal relationships, but some folks have a new band every single year, And some people have like real loyalty to a project when it starts. And one of the things I've always admired about you and about Rockstead is kind of your mainstay is that you have this extreme loyalty to that band. And regardless how many times you go through changes in a lineup or now working 6.5 hours apart at any given time, you've kept this commitment to the band and what the band's capable of. Is there a reason that you hold on so dear to a project, or is there any advice that you give to folks that are kind of teetering on, can I make this keep going?
Sure. I think the biggest thing for me was like, you know, when these changes would happen, whether it be a member change or me moving and things like that, we had already come so far with like the name and the music, and I was so invested into like writing music like that. We already had followers online, like on social media, and just like the idea of having to start all over, even though I guess I would have started over with like all of the knowledge I had learned up to that point, but like the idea of having to start over just seemed daunting. And I was like, I can just push through this little bit of adversity, whether it be finding a new guitar player or, whatever, and just kind of keep it going. And I think that's kind of how it's been for me. It was like, I was just like, oh, I made it this far, I might as well keep pushing. And every year gets better. Like we write better music, we play better shows. Like, there's always things that are a pain in the ass. There always will be, just with any job. But I think that's what it was mainly for me. But it's funny you mentioned that, because it's like, essentially that has been my band like forever, and like just this year, I guess just last year, me and some buddies started a little like local reggae project in Asheville called Tough Soul. But it's just like for fun, we're doing a lot of covers and stuff. But we had a rehearsal, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is the first time I've been in a band with like other people in a really long time.
Yeah.
But also it's like, it was kind of refreshing because, I wear a lot of hats in Rockstead, which is, I've welcomed over the years, and, I've gotten good at doing that. But it was just so fun to be like, just the guitar player. Like,
dude, 100%.
Or, like, I don't want to make any decisions. Like, yeah, let's learn that song.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I had a great conversation with a guy named Joshua Powell yesterday. He's talking about like, to do this full time, like you need to have 4 to 8 jobs, and it's not just like, oh, I got a side gig where I make a little money bartending here, or I got a side gig where I teach on these particular days. It's like, I got 5 or 6 different projects that I got to play in. 99% of my life is thankfully my solo gig or my band. But if a wedding band calls and the money's good, it's like, yeah, let's hop and do it. If I'm playing the Commodore's Ball this week and you send me a laundry list of shit, I'm like, open bar, and I got to figure these tunes out. Like, okay, fuck it. That's what we got to do today.
Yeah.
What's it been like over the years now of learning all these different avenues that you have to pursue to make a project happen? Like, if you could tell anyone starting their first band, learn how to do this as well, what would you tell them?
Oh, man. I mean, really, like, teaching music is huge. Like, just because there's so many opportunities to do it, whether it's private lessons or teaching at a school, and most of those teaching gigs are, like, very flexible. So if you do play in a touring band or something, like I started teaching music at a middle school, Colleen's, my wife's middle school, way later, when I was probably like 29, 28, and I'd never taught in my life, and I was just like, and it was all girls middle school, and I'm just like, I'm getting thrown into the fire right now, dude. And, the first year was a little weird, but now I've been doing it for a while, and, I got it down. But, like, dude, teaching, and really, like, I haven't done this. I wish I would have. It seems like a daunting task at this point in my life, but, like, learning how to produce music and mix, and it seems like you've been doing that too here, like, because not only is it going to save your band money if you learn how to mix and produce your own music, but then you can offer those services to other people, like, I mean, that's freaking huge. And then, just all the nitty gritty like back end stuff of being in a band, like booking and management and stuff. And if you learn how to do that, marketing, all of the like, you know, Facebook and Instagram ad promotions and stuff like that, that's only going to benefit your band. And then you can, if you get good enough at it, you can charge other people to do that for them, you know, and it's just things that are going to like progress your music career, but then you can also turn around and make it a job.
That right there is the nails of it. If you can get other people to pay you to learn how to do things that benefit you eventually, like, yeah, I've been learning how to mix over the last couple of years, and I love that. It's a really fun outlet for me because I can use on my own stuff. But if someone pays me to mix on their tune, everything I learn in that process, I take home with me. It's like so many people try to separate church and state when it comes to their art and what they're doing. But even teaching middle school music, it's like, one, I'd imagine that seeing kids get excited about music, it makes it much easier to go home and be like, I'm going to write some sick shit today.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of ways a soul-sucking job can ruin your artistic endeavor. But being in there and watching a kid get hyped about hot cross buns on a recorder and then going being like, I got to learn some new sweet picking lines. Like, I could do some heavy.
Yeah, dude. It's, I was so nervous about the teaching thing too, because I was a little bit of a like punk kid growing up. like it was funny. I was like a good kid in the sense of like I got good grades. Like, you know, I was good at sports. Like I did everything that I was asked of me, but I was still also like pot smoking, skateboarding in a punk band kid, you know? And so like I always had this thing against authority, you know? I was just like, Gah. And, you know, going into middle school, teaching middle school, I was like, oh no, like I am that authority figure. I was so worried about it that I would not let them call me Mr. Burns. They all call me Mr. B. I was like, you can't call me Mr. Burns.
So Simpsons, you know? Like,
yeah, and I don't want to be this evil fucking...
You're the Duke Energy of The Simpsons if you're Mr. Burns. You got to watch that.
But
Release the hounds, baby, you know?
But it's actually pretty cool. I mean, I've learned to like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's fun. And it's just a little side hustle, you know?
For sure, man. It's a beautiful thing. Well, and one of my favorite other things I've seen you do in the last couple of years is the River the Dog stuff, where you're a songwriter. At the base of who you are a songwriter. Whether Rockstead continues past the point of your own death in some kind of AI, you know, like hologram realm, or you develop projects throughout the rest of your life that are different than that. When you wake up and you have a song in your idea, you don't get to judge what it is till it kind of arrives. And there's a kind of a genre change in the River the Dog stuff. What was the first song that you wrote that felt like it needed a new title and a new kind of brand to live under?
I don't know if there was actually like one specific song where that kind of came to be, but you know, it was like a couple years after living in Asheville, and you know, I just discovered all of this folk, indie folk, like, you know, Americana, like, you know, and stuff that had even been around for a long time, like Avett Brothers and Jason Isbell, and I got really into Tyler Childers and Mandolin Orange and Watch House, and, you know, just all of that kind of like edge of country, alt country, everything I just said. And I just started diving in, you know, because I was such a stubborn, like, metalhead growing up for the most part. I mean, like, I got into Jack Johnson when I was younger, and, you know, I got into like the Sublimes and stuff like that. But there was a point in my life where it's like, if it didn't have a distorted guitar in it, then I was like, it's not good music, you know?
Yeah.
And but, you know, the older you get, the more, and especially as a musician, you got to be open to new things. And anyway, I just went down a deep dive and got super into it. And, you know, when I sat down to write, sometimes songs just came out in these like folky ways, you know.
Was this why you're trying to write for Rockstead though?
Yeah, so I'm always writing in general.
Okay.
So, you know, I'll sit down with the purpose to write. Sometimes there'll be a project I'm working on, and sometimes it'll just like I just make time for it, when whatever happens happens. And but yeah, so I was still writing for Rockstead, but I was also like writing these other songs. But with River the Dog, I had probably cured like 10 of these songs that were, you know, they just weren't going to be a Rockstead song. It just didn't make sense. That's not what they were made for. And, you know, I just came to the realization one day, like, these aren't doing any good. sitting in my notebook. So I started hashing them out in the studio.
Yeah. Did you have acoustic gigs at the time too that you were like playing these live?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was the reaction like?
Oh, they love it in Asheville for sure. And that was one thing I loved about Asheville was, I graduated college in 2015, and then I moved to Asheville early 2018. And within that time out of college, I was mostly doing solo gigs, really starting to actually dive into Rockstead, because like when I was like 25 was really that turning point for me, when I was like, all right, if this is what I want to do, I gotta fucking do it. And then some odd jobs here and there. But my point is I was doing these solo gigs, and up here in Ohio, like, I don't know if you run into this, but everyone loves their cover songs, dude. And like, you will get $20 in that tip jar if you play Free Fallin' or like whatever it is, And I would do it. Hell yeah, you're working for money, baby. And so I just had this huge like songbook of cover songs. And my first like year in Asheville, when I started finally gigging, I'm doing these like this book of cover songs essentially, and just like every once in a while sprinkling in a original tune, and it's like people were just not paying attention. What worked up here was not working down there. And then I just started playing more and more original music, and they love it down there. People love it, like the locals love it, because it's just an artistic town, and they want to hear something new. And then Asheville's a big tourist town, and tourists love it because they're like, oh, we're on vacation and we're hearing this like original artist in the mountains, like, wow, and so now, I mean, I would say 70% of my solo gigs is original music.
That's amazing.
But especially with it being the like folky Americana stuff, which is really prevalent down there, like people were eating it up. So but yeah, so I recorded a few songs. There's a couple more in the pipeline right now, like masters in hand, and then I've made it a point this year to,
That's hilarious. This is my burner phone, and I don't know how I get phone calls on my burner phone. Like, I've never texted anybody on that. I've never called anybody on that. I literally just use it to live stream and do shit like this, but I still get potential spam. And I'm like, what the fuck do I have to do to get this number to be non-existent,
Calling you about car insurance, baby.
Dude, at the same time, I'd probably answer a car insurance call right now.
Yeah.
Me and the wife got switched. We got that home and auto bundle, baby, and I don't think we're getting it right. There's nothing like talking to an AI like in a heated conversation about a home and auto bundle. And I'm like, do you promise me that you're actually looking this shit up and not just making up good deals to make me switch? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, this is the problem with AI. I can't fucking trust you, can I?
I don't know, dude. Some of them are getting good, though. They'll be like, how does that make you feel? You're like, well, actually, I feel this way. And they just like are comforting you.
I have started to use it for some minor therapy work. And I'm like, wow, this is productive. Shit that I wouldn't want to ask another person because I feel ridiculous. I'm like, it is interesting to have this in your pocket. What really blows my mind, though, is the Logic mastering AI. Do you record in Logic?
I have Ableton on my computer, actually.
Dude, Ableton probably has a similar thing, but it's like you can click a little button that says mastering, and it'll listen to the whole song and give you a rough idea of an EQ for that. And it's like, for a starting point, awesome.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah, and they'll just add some other things in there, like a tape emulator, some other EQs and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, thanks for doing 70% of the work so I can just feel like a G over here,
Dude, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into that, but I've definitely been utilizing certain AI things to...
What's been your best use of it?
Dude, I just started doing this, like, at the tail end of last year, like, because I always knew about ChatGPT, right? And I'm like, I didn't really know anything about AI for the most part, other than some people liked it, some people didn't. Like, I didn't know what the practical use was, For me, up to that point, it had been, like, my new like Google essentially, when I'm asking questions. But I have a friend in Asheville, and she would use it a lot to just streamline stuff that she does with her business, and we just got talking about it. But basically the main thing I've used it for, which has been wild. So like I do all the booking for my band, right? At this point we have a pretty long list of contacts up and down the East Coast. We play a lot of the same venues. So like a lot of my like outreach work doesn't take quite as much time because I already know like I'm gonna hit up Tim at House of Blues or whatever it is. But you know, when we're going to new places, the way I would find a venue to play is I'd go like, say Asheville, like music venues in Asheville, North Carolina on Google. And then it gives you a list of like 20. Then I have to go through each one and figure out which one my band could fit into. And then I have to go through again and find the contact and like email that, you know, like it takes hours and hours.
Yeah.
But like with ChatGPT, I have been able to be like, I like created a little summary of Rockstead and the band. And since I've been using it, it's learned like who Rockstead is. I don't have to do that every time. I can just be like, yo, my band is going to Nashville. Like, what venues should we play? And like at this point, it already knows like our stream count, our social media following. Like, so it picks venues, the right size, the right genre. Like, it'll send me the contact email immediately or the phone number. And it just like, it saves me hours of work.
Dude, not only hours of work, but choosing wrong. Like, how many times do you think you have to go back to a market to actually start to build a following?
Oh,
like what's your experience like in that? Do you have to go to Atlanta 3 times before you're like, I think there's a reason to go to Atlanta? Because sometimes I get 2 in, and I'm like, we can't keep coming back here, you know?
Yeah. I usually have a 3-strike rule.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you know, if you have 3 strikeouts in a row in a market, then maybe like, you know, you don't go back, or you don't go back unless you have like a solid offer, like you're gonna open for so and so, or like we want you to play this festival.
Yeah.
You know,
and those are such uniquely different offers. So many folks are looking to reach out to a club and headline a show. But I see that you've built great relationships with whether it's the Bumpin' Up Uglies guys or the Tropodelic guys. It's like those type of runs make the most sense because their audience has seen you before, you've seen their audience before, and there's a way of making this whole experience worthwhile. What would you say it's like to make those relationships? Any advice for bands that are trying to learn how to open for people?
Dude, yeah. Honestly, the first thing is like, you know, just creating a personal relationship with those people in the bands is huge. And because like being a good hang on the road is so important. You know, it's like if you have the opportunity to go introduce yourself to the lead singer of the band you want to tour with, you know, you're at their show or you guys are playing a festival together, like just like shaking hands and making small talk so that they know who you are and know you're not like a crazy, because most of the time those bands are picking bands that they want to like know they can hang out with for a week straight, because that's essentially what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, especially in a pseudo jam kind of genre. It's like, okay, your pop stars probably aren't out there picking out acts that are going to open for them.
Yeah.
But when you're doing things in between festivals and it has like this more 3-hour, 4-hour show experience where the audience might be a little bit more wild, like, dude, you're just a long-haired guy walking out of the crowd right now. It's like, okay, you're probably trying to buy something, you know? It's like,
well, and I've totally been on the other side of that. Like I said, when I was like 25 was kind of my turning point. But up to that point, I had in my head, like, this is just a big party. Like, I'm doing this because I want to live this, like, rock star life, you know? Not that it was glamorous by any means up to that point, but, like, I just kind of thought that the whole, like, partying thing was part of it, which it can still be sometimes, right place, right time. But, you know, I think I have made a couple, like, in the past when I was younger, like, bad impressions on people because I was, like, wasted and trying to, like, talk to them backstage. And, you know, looking back, they probably weren't wasted. And they're like, who is this fucking schmuck dude from the opening band, like, trying to, like, yell in my face during the show because he's drunk? Like, you know, it's just making a good impression on those bigger bands and just being professional, you know? Like, because at the end of the day, it is work, and touring with bands at that caliber, you see how professional they are. Like, I mean, they have their show dialed, their crew is dialed. They all know run a show. Like, they're in, they're out, and like, if there is a hiccup, they know who takes care of it and they do it. I mean, it's just like, just be professional, be a good hang is.
Yeah, there's a lot of do's that don't line up in my mind, but it's the don'ts that seem the most important. Like, I think the first don't is don't run over your allotted time. Even if your sound check means you start late, don't run late.
Yep.
Because your show should not interfere with their show, regardless how bad that shit goes. Any other big don'ts in your mind?
Don't, actually, this is important because I've seen this. Don't eat the food or drink the beer of the headlining band in the green room. Like, sometimes there's a shared green room backstage, and I think they'll be like, I was guilty of this again too, like in early days, where it's like there's a shared green room and I'm like, oh, we got catering, dude, this is sick. Like, we're cracking beers and like eating veggie trays, and it's like, that actually wasn't ours as like the one of four of band of the night, you know?
It's on somebody else's rider.
Totally.
You know, it was part of the operation agreement of them being there, and you just deprived them of that, you know? And now the venue's looking at you like you're crazy, and they're looking at you like you're crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, sorry.
You're fine.
Going back to like what it takes to open up for those bands, like, this is the kind of weird catch-22, is like, we were talking about going to markets, and, you know, like, how many times do you have to go until you like give up on that market, right? And it's like, there's still markets we hit, like, we go to Florida at least twice a year, right? We'll do at least a week of shows. And with Florida, you know, you can just go bam, 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 like, work your way around. And there's still, like, there'll be an off night somewhere, and it's, like, always the same town and same place. But because we need a gig and we know we're still going to get paid, we still do it just to fill that gap in the schedule. But I guess the point of this is like, you have to have, most of the time, the bigger bands need you to have history in these markets. Whether or not you sold any tickets or not, you know, they want to know that, like, you've played Myrtle Beach 5 times. Even if like 4 out of those 5 times were shitty, like, you can still, like, so when I reach out to I'll reach out to an agent of one of these bigger bands and be like, I do this actually like 2 or 3 times a year, like seasonally or whatever, and I'll just be like, hey, and, you know, I know him at this point, like, hey, John, Jake here from Rockstead, just letting you know, like, if Bumpin' Uglies needs any support, you know, in the fall, we're available and interested. Here's a list of the cities that we have history in, and I'll kind of list them in rank of like where we play the most, and or at least states or whatever.
Yeah, that's a brilliant stat that I never thought about keeping track of. And it's a great way of also, you lay the perception of your band to these folks as a meaningful relationship or not. I don't know what's going on with my camera here. Hold on. Let me see. I got some busted ass shit going on. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. But you control that. You can tell them, like, yeah, man, we don't do that well in Myrtle Beach. Or you could tell them, we played there 5 times, and we'd love for the 6th time to be direct support for you. Totally. What's the difference when you're reaching out about direct support versus just opening slots? Do you find that language really matters?
I don't. You know, I usually just say, like, we're open for support. 'Cause usually, like, too, with the bigger bands, you know, like in our scenes, Tropodelic and Bumpin' Uglies, like, you'll realize most of the time the you know, headliner and direct support, and sometimes even the 2 of 4, they're all under the same label. Like, most of the time they're on the same label, and so what these labels are doing is they're packaging their bands together and throwing these shows so that, like, their agents under their label are all getting paid. Totally. Every single night, you know? And
yeah, if they're going to light a fire, they're going to try to get everybody warmed up a little bit on it. So take their strongest in a market and pad it with another so they can branch those and keep funneling them.
But, you know, like with Bumpin' Uglies, like, we did a run with them last year, and it's like we were 1 of 4, and that was a little more like, you know, we had played a couple festivals with them and gotten to know them a little bit, and we had been working with their agent for a long time now, just via email and stuff. But But yeah, and that's the thing too, is like if you list these markets you're in, you know, and it's mostly what they're hitting, that you can still get opportunities to play in new spots. Like, so it's like they're like, oh, we're hitting like Asheville, Myrtle Beach, and Wilmington, which are all spots we played. But also, are you down to stay on for these last 2 days where we're going to Charlottesville and DC, which we've never really played, and it's like, yeah, you know, you'll get opportunities like that. But going back to with the shows and playing new markets, it's like you still have to do that, even though it kind of sucks a little bit sometimes, especially when you're breaking into new cities. Like, you still, even if it is 3 strikeouts, at least you have 3 times that you can say you've played in Asheville, North Carolina, or like whatever it might be. But it's important to have that show history and like be able to like spit it out when you need it.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day where someone was just talking about the perception of saying, like, if you believe you're unlucky, you will be the most unlucky motherfucker you've ever experienced. And even when you have 3 strikeouts in a market, you're about to give up on that particular place. Framing is, I have valuable experience in this market, even if it hasn't amounted to anything yet. Like, I've laid the groundwork. Like, 3 shitty workouts in a row does not mean that you're not working out. You know, you're still doing the little things that matter in these situations. And now if you have an AI, you know, you can just kick the information in there. So I don't have to go through an Excel sheet and be like, how many times in 2017 did I go to Columbus, Ohio? And the answer is none. I didn't have anything in Columbus. Yeah. Fuck, dude. This shit sucked. It's so hard for bands at the beginning to have the foresight to document, to frame, and to pitch, you know, and learning how to get in that rotation and not letting it be a chore. People are like, dude, does the booking ever end? And it's like, no. If anything never ends, it's the booking, you know? It's like, it's literally the people call you. No one's going to ever ask you to play 9 to 5, 4 days a week, you know? It's like, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's getting in those like good habits of doing that back end stuff, like the booking and everything. But also it's like when you're young, at least how it was for me, like we were stoked to go drive to West Virginia and play to 10 people because we were like, we just drove 5 hours to play a show in a different state. Like, hell yeah, you know, like that was cool. And honestly, there's a part of me that like misses those days because we would get an offer for like $300 to drive up to Cleveland to play a show, and everyone would be super stoked to do it because we were 20 years old and, you know, it just sounded like fun.
300 ain't a horrible guarantee either. You know, it's like, exactly. As far as those go, that's not that bad. I'm sorry to tell you, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
When did you decide that the camper van was a necessary part of doing that?
Dude, you know what's hilarious is, so it was right before I moved to Asheville, and my buddy Victor, who I mentioned earlier, was still in the band. And he, towards the end of his time in the band, he was like very gung-ho about us like going all into like touring. Excuse me. And up to that point, we had done some short stints or like, you know, little like weekend warrior things like to West Virginia. And I think we had done our first like actual out of state tour. We did a week down in Florida in like 2016 or 2017. We learned so much, dude. I had a frickin' Jeep Liberty. 2 of the windows didn't work. We went down in the middle of August with a giant frickin' trailer. Dude, it was
broiled and soiled.
Dude, it was so rough, dude. And like, you know, we didn't have any like time management. Like we went to St. Pete Beach one day 4 hours before our gig, and everybody got like so sunburned, and then we were calling ourselves the Red Man Group that night. Like it was wretched. But basically Victor talked me into buying, my girlfriend at the time, her grandparents were selling this like super old 91 like RV that was in really rough shape, but I got it for like $4,000. And then me and my dad just put a bunch of work into it and like built bunk beds in the back. But it was shortly after that Victor left the band, which essentially, or Nate had joined at that point, our drummer, but Nate was super fresh. And then Vic left, and it's just me and Nate. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to move to Asheville, but I'm like, I still want to do this. Like, if you're still game, like, I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And Nate was just like, cool, just keep me in the loop, man. But anyway, so Victor kind of talked me into getting the RV, and I got it all fixed up. And that was what was crazy is, like, my first year moving down to Asheville was the first year we really started booking, like, longer out-of-state runs. And but then after having used that RV for a couple years, I was going to sell it and get a van, but we were just like, dude, this is nice. Like, it's just so nice having all the room and the beds and the kitchen. And so I bought another one. I sold that one, bought a new one. But actually, I'm selling the one I have now. I've already bought a 15-passenger van for the meantime.
Nice.
But I think having beds is really the biggest thing. I mean, the RV, it was a 30-foot RV. Like, it was kind of a pain in the ass to get around.
Yeah.
We got pretty lucky with just parking and shit, but the beds, I think, is like clutch. So really, I want to sell the RV and then flip the van, and I want to get like a extended Sprinter situation.
Just to have one bed in the back is enough for most of those, because like, you don't want to spend every waking minute in this thing.
Totally.
But we do have to go overnight a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
there's only so many times you can look back in the back seat and just see your bass player's neck at this angle for 4 hours where you're like, dude, you're going to have a separation between them discs, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, that's the goal right now. I'm working on selling old Moby. But
you want to quote the price? You want to make a clip of this? You want to get the big pitch from Moby?
Yo, Moby, 30-foot RV. I just got a brand new transmission in it, running great. It's got 140,000 miles on it. I'm looking for 13.5, baby, 2008. She's got a lot of life left in her. If anybody wants it.
And honestly, that ain't a lot of miles for what that is. No. How much more for every member of Rockstead to sign it? Every member that's ever been in Rockstead, top to bottom.
Oh, dude, we can sign it. There's probably half-smoked Rockstead joints in between the cushions.
That's all we need to know. If it burns to the ground, you will have a good time.
There are some treasures in there that I probably haven't found after cleaning it out.
Dude, that's the funniest shit. So, one of the things that really blew my mind last time that we were hanging out is your new front of house guy. Tell me about the difference of taking your own front of house engineer.
Oh, dude, it is life-changing. It is so life-changing. And, like, because we started using in-ear monitors at the beginning of last year, maybe a little before that. But, so, you know, we had the rack, we had everything, and we were mixing everything from our phones. And it was just such a learning curve for us. Like, there's a lot to learn about that. And then, you know, we had the splitter, and so, you know, the whole shebang. And Zach, our front of house guy, so our bass player Steven grew up in Myrtle Beach, and him and Zach were like best friends growing up. Zach still lives out near Myrtle Beach. It's like Conway or something. But we played a show on the deck at House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, and Zach does some sound tech work at House of Blues, like monitors and front of house and stuff. And anyway, he mixed us for our show on the deck, because they do these, I don't know if you've ever been out there, but they have this really cool like deck stage, outdoor deck stage. You guys should play there. You'd crush.
I would love that.
But it was just like night and day. Like, our ears mix was better. Like, the front of house was awesome. And Steven was like, dude, I bet you Zach would be super down. And also, I know you've dealt with this, but just like the terror sound tech who's like so upset that he's there, and you're just like, you chose this profession. No one's forcing you.
Yes.
No one forced you to put 30 years into being a sound tech.
And the way that can throw your set, I mean, from the first, hey, how you doing? You take that vibe in, and it just shits on your day. Like, I just recently had a situation with an engineer where we were headlining. The opener got there first, so they sound check first, which is fine by me. And I was like, all right, can we go up and get a check? He's like, I'd rather just leave it all. And I'm like, that's not how this works, dude. Like, save a scene. Let's do a quick sound check. He goes, I'm really good on the fly. And I was like, I just listened to that other sound check. No, you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, like, give us a chance here. Having someone that's excited to do their job on that end of the board, like, you are the number one line of defense between us and the audience. You are the only opinion that matters. And if you don't give a fuck, where are we going?
Yeah, I mean, it's great because again, like, he's cool. So like
He's very cool.
being in the van together, like he's super chill dude, and you know, just having another hand on the road. Like this is really our first like crew member we've ever brought on. So even just little things of like running cables and like when we do have to run our own sound, like setting up the, you know, speakers and microphones while we're like getting our personal stuff together, and you know, just and he knows the drill. Like you don't have to like guide him and be like, here, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Like you can get what you need done, not have to worry about that getting done. And because of that, you then have all this extra time prior to show or after show to like, you know, troubleshoot if you have to, or just like chill.
Or talk to a fan.
Like, and talk to a fan. Like,
I'm so envious of a bandmate that can set up their gear and then start to play and warm up, where I'm like, dude, if my pedal board goes down, I'm at the merch table. If the merch table is set up, I'm handing off my tails for the splitter. If we're doing that, then I'm going back and I'm giving out the set list to the band. It's just like all the fucking things.
Yeah.
To not have to explain that to somebody and just have full confidence that they're going to do it and also enjoy it. When he and I were talking about the X32, you could feel the excitement from this guy. I'm like, oh, dude, that's everything everyone's ever wanted, you know?
Oh, he's stoked. And, you know, now, too, it's like he's learned our music and he's learned our set. So he's able to be out front and cue effects. Like, we've played with bands, and they're like, dude, like what vocal processor are you using up there? I'm like, it's called a Zach. It's just Zach, like,
all you gotta do is kidnap a guy from Myrtle Beach, dude. It's fucking sick.
Yeah. And he does origami, dude. Come on. He really does, dude. He's very, very good at origami. But
that's sick.
But yeah, it's been, and you know, essentially, like right now, we just pay him out as like another band member. And like all of the guys were stoked on that. They're just like, and it has been so helpful.
Yeah.
And, you know, every once in a while, like, there'll be a weekend where it's like, it doesn't make sense for you to come. Like, you know, we might not be making as much money, and these shows are sort of more like whatever shows.
Throw and go kind of deals.
So, but, like, all of our main tours, and it goes back to, like, when we were on the road with, like, some bigger bands, it just adds to that professionalism, is, like, Zach immediately, like when we get there, immediately finds front of house, introduces himself. Hey, I'm front of house for Rockstead. Here's the input list. Here's stage plot. This is what we need. Cool. Shake hands. You know, it's just it looks good from the band too.
It does. And dude, the amount of times, like, not that anyone's done a bad job of it, but like when you hand that off, you're trusting someone to represent your band to those individuals too. You have to have absolute confidence that not only do they fit the job description, they fit the vibe, you know, like when you look at that guy, he looks like he's a member of your band, you know, you got the hair and the attitude, he's smiling when he comes up to you. But if you're a grouchy engineer and goes and meets their grouchy engineer, things are so fucked. So making sure morale is in the right place and you pick that guy is so essential.
And just knowing your shit too, you know, it's like, because that was part of it. Like when we got the in-ears and the X32, like I had learned a lot and we knew how to turn it on and use it to what we needed to use it for, but I wasn't like an expert with it. And so sometimes I was the guy going up and being like, hey, I'm Jake with Rockstead, like here's what we need and you know what we use, and then they'd start asking questions and I'm just like I don't know, dude, we just got this thing, you know?
Let me think about this, like who's sending phantom power is my favorite question. It's just like, dude, how about you do everything you want and I'll just hand you tails.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, just like it was one festival in Cincinnati too where it's like most of the time it's in town, like I feel very comfortable with my equipment and my know-how, and I go up and I got 2 racks. I got like the main rack and then I have a little like extension, and I'm explaining this and we're kind of under the gun. And I said, is there anything I can do to be helpful? And he goes, get better shit. And I went, holy fuck.
It's like, tell us how you really feel, dude.
Yeah, it's like, it's a great point to make if you mean it, you know? Like, that sucks for me, but I absolutely understand why you're saying that, you know? At the end of the day, I need to hand you things that you feel confident in, or else you're not going to feel confident. And then you got to go out there and mix this fucking thing, so.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Shout out, Zach.
Shout out, Zach. Zach, you're wonderful. It was great chatting with him. Well, brother, at this stage in your career, as you're balancing everything, a band that has a great track record and is doing bigger and bigger things every year, having a new project, and then just like the general landscape of gigging to make sure you're making ends meet. What's like the most fulfilling thing that you got going on at the moment?
I mean, the whole reason I'm here in Cincinnati is I've got a bunch of studio time with the band. So we're at the tail end of recording a new album, which, like, for anybody that records music, it's like, I don't know if you feel this way, but putting out an album is like ending a chapter of your career. Or it's almost like ending and starting at the same time, but it's just such a, like, timestamp of your creative energy over a certain amount of time, and that's exciting, I think, because essentially that's our main goal, like, at least for an original artist, is to write and record music and release it. And it can be such a pain in the ass, as like, there's money and there's time and just, like, it's a lot. But that is a fulfilling thing, and sometimes you forget that when you're in the midst of it because, again, it's a lot of work. But that's definitely exciting. And, just in general, planning things to look forward to. I've said this to other people, like, I kind of think that is essentially, like, the meaning of life is to have things to look forward to. Because if you're just, like, going through life and you're just, like, every day is the same and you're just, like, pay the bills, go to work, mow the grass, and you don't have anything to look forward to, then it's like you're not living for anything, And so it's kind of nice, like, we've been taking a break through the winter and I'm just, like, starting to book shows in March and beyond. I'm like, oh, this is going to be sick. Oh, this is going to be sick. And so I guess the fulfilling part is just, like, getting better at recognizing the cool shit that's coming, and things do keep getting a little better. And it's easy to go through a slump at any point in your career and just be like, why am I doing this, dude? Like,
literally any day can be like the most existential fucking send, but that's part of it.
Yeah. And it's just, that's life, I guess. But yeah, I guess it's just putting out new art, putting out new music, and having things to look forward to. Yeah.
Well, you also still hold the trophy of the coolest wedding I've ever been to. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, just like, if you can luck out to find a partner who understands this pursuit, but just a little bit removed on the outside enough to help you, like, be regular. Like, two artists in the world, like, at least there's understanding, but it's very tough to balance.
Yeah.
Having a partner that, like, lives a little bit more in the normal world, that helps you balance and still understands the mania that comes along with this, that can help you through the days where I'm full send, existential dread, why do I do this? Or the days where it's like someone that you can come back from the best show of your year and be like, do you know if there's any ground beef downstairs? It's just like
Yeah.
the most mundane things. It's such an accomplishment to find that person and to take that step, man. So sincerely, congrats. You couldn't have chose better.
Yeah, no, she's a keeper, man. And I mean, she's a wild one in her own ways too,
Dude, the bride is in the bounce house in the pouring rain. I was like, this is the most poetic thing I've ever seen at a wedding. I was like, this is iconic.
Yeah, dude, she's great.
Yeah. How's the honeymoon?
Dude, good.
You went to Thailand?
Thailand.
How long?
Dude, it was quick. It was like 9 days, which, like, for flying that far, we wish it would have been longer, but we went to Warped Tour in Orlando for 2 days, and then we flew out of Orlando. I saw her
moshing, dude. I saw her moshing and crowd surfing. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but we got a lot in a little amount of time, man. We did Chiang Mai, which is like northern Thailand. We went whitewater rafting up there. Both of us are super into whitewater. Big old hike up a mountain, music. Found a reggae bar in northern Chiang Mai, literally called Roots Rock Reggae.
Did you book a show to think about it?
I did think about it, but there was a band there called the Rude Boys, this Thai band who was playing reggae music. I was like, hell yeah.
They slam?
They were pretty good, yeah.
Dude.
There was a lot of music in Thailand. The only like kind of weird thing is like they were playing a lot of like Western music, like a lot of like hits and stuff. And they were singing in English, but they had just such thick Thai accents that it came off a little like, I don't want to say funny, but it was a little, it was just like a little off because they were singing with these super thick Asian accents. But like the musicianship was like really good. I mean, there was like killer guitar players, and Chiang Mai is supposed to be like one of the best jazz cities like in the world.
That's fucking
sick. They had
sick.
like jazz festivals and stuff there.
Yeah, there's something about hearing like someone do Valerie, and you can tell like they don't care what the words are. They're just making the sounds with their face. Like I feel that way sometimes. But when you have an accent where it's like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, then we went south. We went like Rayleigh Beach. It was just like on the ocean, and went rock climbing and more hiking and ate a bunch of food, and it was fun, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. Well, thank you for making the time to come on today. Is there anything you'd like to promote as we wrap up?
Actually, yeah. Next week, new River the Dog song is dropping called Slipping.
Is that a duo track? Did I see a video of you playing that with another fella?
Oh, no, that was just something we whipped up the other day.
Cool. It was rad.
But, yeah, so there's that. There's a new Rockstead track dropping in February. We haven't announced this yet, but it's called Journey. It's going to be cool. It's essentially just a freaking rock song. Like, I don't know. It's going to be fun. And then, yeah, like probably in May, late May, early June, fresh Rockstead album will be hopefully coming down the pipeline. So
amazing. Well, thanks for making the time today, brother.
Yeah,
I love spending some time with you while you're in town.
Cheers.
So I'll catch you soon.
Peace.
Peace, motherfuckers.